Let's take a look at the Nomad. The Nomad was released at the beginning of this year's Ship Expo. It is a light freighter produced by Consolidated Outland. In this review, we're going to take a look at the whole ship from the outside and the inside. And at the end, I'm going to rate it on style, function, and technical quality. So let's get started. Now, the first thing you might notice is it appears to hover in the air. And it will always hover like this in the air. The engine is actually offline, but the power is on. And even if the power is completely off, the ship is still going to hover like this. So that's the first weird thing about the ship, that it always hovers without any landing gear. Okay, it appears to be some anti-gravity technology, which I really don't like this type of fantasy technology in a sci-fi game. I'm more of a hard sci-fi fan, so I'm going to be biased towards ships that have more conventional landing, or any landing gear at all, for that matter. But the cockpit? Cockpit looks really nice on this one. It has a nice boxy shape to it, and it avoids the excessive weird strut shapes of the Aurora or the RSI ships. I think in terms of canopy from the outside, it's one of the best canopies in the game, and the way it integrates into the rest of the fuselage. I think that's one of the best parts of the ship is this part. There must be some inlet for the engines, I think. What's interesting about the ship, it looks more like it looks a bit more like an alien ship than a human ship. And I think it's the development team that's designing that ship, and the Prowler is, I think, the same development team, because it has Prowler written all over it. Here, I think that's a missile. Texture quality is it's a bit plasticky, I think. The detail under the landing the landing gear, the mechanism behind it is actually very detailed. Looks really nice. It's just a waste that there is actually no landing gear. They just use this hover thingy, because the mechanism here is really intricate. It looks really beautiful. It's kind of tragic about this ship. It has I would call it stupid fantasy landing gear, but the mechanism behind it is beautiful and intricate like this. Look at this. Such a waste to put so much detail behind something like this. Okay, that's the entrance. Before we go inside, we're going to take a look at the back side, because this is really interesting, and yeah, I'm just going to show you too. Now, this ship has a cargo bay. It's a light freighter. Now, the interesting thing about this cargo bay, it's an outside cargo bay. And it's completely outside like this. There's nothing that closes it up. It's always open like this. Going to go down. What I don't like about this landing ramp over here is it has no supports or anything. Just some floppy little metal plates that's supposed to bear some load, so that doesn't look good. As you go inside, it has its own normal gravity. Like, you put a box in here and it's going to stay there. I'm not sure what that thing over here is. It looks to me like they tried to make a roof on it, but because they had to rush the ship, that's my guess, they had to rush the ship to get it done for the expo. So they kind of just left it like this. Because I really think that ship was supposed to have a closed cargo space. But it ended up like this. So that's not look good, I think. Not sure if you can even move that cargo space up all the inside of it. If you can, that's already kind of stupid, I think. And there's no way to get inside from the cargo bay. That's another big problem with the ship, is that cargo bay can only be accessed from the outside, and it can't be accessed by anybody who can jump into it. Which means if you have something important in the backside of the cargo, you have to land or get out of the ship, grab it and go back from around the ship. Okay, that's the right side of the ship. This looks like a door. That's kind of weird. It looks like a cutout for a door, but it is no door. On the other side there's a door. So I'm not sure if it's just copy-pasted or not, or if it just looks like that. I have to check again. Another indicator why I think that ship got kind of rushed in production, those little things over here, that's basically the main thrusters. They're just like this. There's no other visible main thrusters pointing backwards. That was carved into the ship last minute to get it done. Also those weird antenna thingies, they make no sense. I mean, it's nice for light fixture, but it looks way too fragile for... You notice the user interface here. It is angular, it is pointy. Same as over here, see? Angular and pointy. Everything in this ship is going to be like this. I think this is a really beautiful, intricate ladder mechanism. However, I think it's excessive for a ladder, considering how many other parts of the ship are just weird and not fitting together. So I wonder why they put so much effort into making the ladder look nice. But the mechanism of the ladder is really beautiful. But ladder animation does not fit the hands. The interior looks really unusual, and as an artistic environment, I think it looks great. You have the orange, you have the gray, and for example, this section over here is really beautiful detail. You even put enough polygons into the screws over here. Look, it looks great. Now the door access panel, I'm not sure what these are for. Are they supposed to tell you that the door is in this point? Or if they just, if they act as a button to press. Well, currently they have no function, they just appear to indicate that there's a door. I think it looks a bit too much like an advertisement in Area 18. The door panel should have a more modest, understated appearance. Looks like a public toilet sign, restroom sign. I think this whole ship looks a bit like an alien public restroom, alien space station. Like a toilet on a space station. That's what the whole ship appears to me. Here's the entrance. As I mentioned earlier, I turned on the power on the ship before I started the review, so you can see with full lighting from the beginning. But the first thing you'll notice here is there's the cargo bay access. There's just a window where you can look into the cargo bay. Now, what's kind of weird is this excessive angularization of everything. We have this tiny window where you can peek out in the cargo bay. But the question is, why is it a tiny window, and why is it so angular? There's no reason for that. Also, there's about a meter of space, 1.5 meters of metal over here. Could have been used for the cargo bay or to add more interior to the ship. There's no reason for it to be this thick and take up this much space. But that's kind of a problem with the ship. It has some really intricate, great detail, but intricacy of the detail gets in the way of the functionality of the ship. I think it's a component housing. It's nice to see components that are actually showing up in the ship. So the animation of the door. Again. The sound appears to fit bit rough around the edges, but it fits the animation. However, I think the animation is a bit too fast. It should take a bit time for the thing to open. Overall, the design of the door, I think it fits the overall weirdness of the room, but I think it's a bit too intricate. But it's consistent in its weirdness, so that's a good thing. Now, what I really like is frosted glass effect over here. That's the toilet in the ship. Now again, we have the angularization problem over here. As you can see, if you want to close the door in the toilet, you have to be seated when it closes. And you basically press against the glass if you do that. Also, you probably cannot stand up in the toilet if the door is closed. And it appears that the toilet, if you would flip it up, it might actually collide with the geometry over here. So that's some really shoddy construction work going on here. That happens when you take it too far with the whole design language stuff. For example, the shape of the toilet seat should be longer and narrower, but it's the opposite. And that's a bad thing if you actually would have to use a toilet. Texture quality is overall good, I think, yeah. Could be a bit better over here. I don't like that brushed aluminum look, but we have here a bit of misaligned texture. Yeah, there's some. Overall, the lighting in this room is good. It's a bit too bright, I think. As a weird place, it makes sense as a weird place. The colors fit together, the angularization works for it, or it gets in the way of the function of the ship. Then we get the frosted glass again. Really nice effect. That's your closet. Now, I really like this closet. It has this simple ribbing inside, solid lighting, but again it's angularized. Let's say you have coat hangers and you want to put your clothes inside. They're going to hang down vertically and they're going to brush against that stuff because it's too angular. And if you have any object that's cubic and a bit larger than it should be for this place, then you cannot close the thing anymore. Okay, that's the back room of the ship, I would say. Now comes the living quarters. Now this looks like a really good place. Again, it's extremely angular, but for this room it kind of works. It looks a bit like a Hobbit cave. It has a certain cozy, cavernous appearance to it, because the walls are so rounded and narrow above the ceiling. Inspect the quality of the whole room. Now what I do not like is reset furniture in my room. I want the furniture in my spaceship to be completely clean and just put in the things that are put there. Means no books, no coffee mugs, no. Okay, where should we? Let's start with the bed. Okay, the bed looks good. Nice gray colors for the bed. Looks good with an orange accent. Quality to it. I think the lighting is a bit too much, especially if you're lying on the bed, you're staring up, you're directly staring into a huge light source. So that's a bad thing. Racial screen, again the books, I don't think they look good, they should be removed. Overall this place looks okay, but again this huge lighting right above your face, it's a good idea. Kitchen. Oh, we got component access up here. Now, what I really like is that it's kind of stowed away in a compact space. I like that. What I do not like is, say you want to dislodge it from up there and carry it down. And imagine that thing is the weight of a few car batteries and it falls down on you. That's a bit of a problem. So I think having component hatches above your head is a bad idea if you have to remove things from it. About the animation is, I think it's too fast. And the sound doesn't fit. I think it was recycled from something else. The sound doesn't fit. Get out. The animation is way too fast. That was just some last minute addition. They probably did really quick. As you can see, the inside appears to have no mechanism to actually actuate the doors on that component thing. This ship has overall some really good design features, but it's excessive in its angularization, and it feels like certain areas got rushed to get it done quick. Kitchen. I like this microwave thing. In this case, the angularization looks actually good. It fits into the overall space. What I really hate is this particular thing. It has absolutely no reason to be this angular. This whole thing here. There's no point to making it angular like this. Also, the other problem is if you reach for it, bend over really far, it might fall down behind it. Then you have to basically climb over the counter to get your thing back that fall behind. And why does it write consolidated outline over here on the kitchen table? You know what type of ship it is. You don't need to have that written on. Okay, that looks nice. Kitchen sink, what I do like is the marble texture looks good. There's that inset detail. Even added a little vent over here. That's a really good detail. Like this kitchen counter works with its angularization. It's subtle. It looks elegant, and those little cut-ins give it certain sophistication. It looks really nice. Not like is corset. That thing sucks. We hear that it lacks polygons, and it's just one texture slapped onto it. Yeah, they drop read the ball on this one, and especially it shows the contrast between the really elegant detail over here. Low detail on that one. Not sure what that hole is for. Maybe that's an ashtray or stuff you throw in trash. That looks good, yeah. Okay, now let's go for the cockpit. For cockpit, I think looks really nice. You have this handlebar over here. The way the whole cockpit gets narrowed to the front. It reminds me a bit of annual ships like the Valkyrie. Bars to hold on. The detail is intricate and good. I think this area looks good. Pilot seat. Okay. This animation is a bit too fast. Shoddy animation, that's not good. As you get out of the seat, you're basically a few centimeters with your nose in front of the door. That's not a good look. They should have used some more space in the ship to prevent that from happening, because you literally get smacked against it like this. Animation looks good. Looks like the hand animation was almost fitted to that thing. I can't see in the small fingers, but it looks like that part was fitted correctly to it. And the scale works. And also I'm playing a female character, so it's a bit smaller than that. Joystick. I think it's a bit over-dimensional. It's a bit too large, because the thumb over here can barely reach up there. They could use a bit more polygons on this part. Okay, now this is a problem. I really hate it when the ship basically shines lamps in your face in your cockpit. Now the outside view would actually be really nice in this ship if it wasn't for this. All those lights blooming like this. You cannot see anything outside of the ship, as you can see. Really hard to see anything outside because of I think the reflector plate over here has a really low detail light halo. It's too opaque. Takes away visibility. Then you got every single thing in the same color, in some signal color, orange yellow, and everything is blooming, so it's almost impossible to see something behind it. Now what is interesting is they mapped out, as the developer said in the ISC video, that they They said they mapped out all the functions the ship should have. They said it for the MSR, for the Star Runner, but it appears to be the same for this ship. I mean, there's functionality it's going to eventually have, which I think is a really nice preview, but it's not accessible yet. So I think eventually each button is going to be his own thing you can press. Now, what I don't like about this design is they're using a science fiction font. That's the biggest mistake you can make when you make a science fiction game, is to pick a science fiction font, because they're usually really hard to read. They should stick to standard fonts that are easy to read in the 20th or 21st century. So I think that should conclude the interior review of the ship. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I'm going to review 3 categories. Style of the ship, or the aesthetics, what people say, which is going to be the most subjective part. Then I'm going to review the functionality of the ship, and then the technical quality. Let's start with style. I'm going to rate it from 0 to 10, 10 being the best. Oh, no, I'm not sure. Again, style is going to be highly subjective because I'm more of a hard sci-fi fan. So I want anything that looks like a Nostromo, that looks like the Sulaco, like anything like in the Alien movies. I'm not a fan of those alien-type sci-fi angular designs. While I don't like that everything is excessively angular in the ship, because absolutely everything you can look at is excessively angular. They'll think that it works as a design in most rooms. Like, for example, in this room, it just works. It looks nice. It's a nice place you want to be in, even though it looks like a toilet in an alien space station. So I would actually, if it was just up to me in terms of how angular it is, I would just give it a 2 out of 10. However, I think the quality behind it is really good. So in terms of style, I would give it a 6 out of 10. It's not my taste, but as I said, it's a highly subjective thing, so I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10 for style. Now let's look at function. Go outside for that again. Now function means how well the ship functions as an object in the game world. Like how well its purpose, how well it's designed for its intent. It's going to be difficult. On the one side, it has a huge cargo bay for such a small-ish ship. You have, I think, 24 SCU, which I think is 3 times what you get from an Avenger. On the other side, it doesn't have a working landing gear, it just has that stupid hover thing. And the inside of the ship is actually much smaller than it should be. I'll show you over here. Look over here. This is where the interior starts. This is the outer hull. Technically you have 1.5 meters of space they could push in both directions, left and right. You would add up with 3 or 4 meters more of interior space. With interior width of the interior space that you could use for much more interior space. So I think the ship is the inside is overly compressed for no reason. They had more real estate inside to do it. And I think they blew up the exterior shape to make it look bigger. So it looks like you have more ship, but the interior is actually too small for it. And the cargo bay, it cannot be closed. It's a completely open cargo bay without any way to close it from the outside. And you cannot enter the cargo bay from the inside of the ship. So it's kind of like an Avenger where the cargo access is well shut and you have to go through the cockpit to get to the rear of the cargo bay. In terms of functionality, I would give it a 2 out of 10. And now for the technical, the technical quality. That's the asset quality, how well the quality is as an object in the game. How buggy it is and simply how high the quality is. As I mentioned earlier, the loading ramp, for example, looks like they did that thing in 5 minutes without any mechanisms. On the other side, the landing gear mechanism is extremely intricate. But the beauty of the landing gear mechanism that nobody looks at except me, I think, kind of cancels out the Then we have the door animation. Let's look at it, pay attention to the door animation. It snaps in like that. It doesn't have any slow build-up of motion. That's not a good animation. Look at it again. It just snaps open like that and has this weird wobble at the end. Like some cartoon animation. It's already technical low quality, I would say. Now that animation is really nice. However, the character going up the ladder is actually... animation doesn't fit the hands, as you can see. So that's already a bad point for the animation. And as I mentioned, in terms of functionality, there's no functioning door panels yet. You can still use the action over here, but it's not a functional UI like you get on, like you would get on other new ships. I think the 100i has at least door panels that are just a panel where you can click on it, or like the new Babbage spaceport elevator buttons. Then the other problem was earlier, as I mentioned, when you get out of the seat, you're almost getting smacked against the door. That's not good. And the seating animation. Let's take a look. I think it's too fast. And you get basically thrown against this, against the dashboard like this. Not a good look. And if you get out of it, you get violently thrown back, and it's not a fluid animation. In terms of technical quality, it's difficult. We'll give it a 4 out of 10. So, and I think that was the whole review, and as always, thanks for watching.